Today's Town Council to order, December the 17th, 2018 at 4:50 in the afternoon. So there's no introduction of late items, so we will just need a motion to have the special meeting agenda adopted as printed. Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor King, all in favor? Thank you. So the report, which Ms. McKay will just give a very brief summary of, is of the bylaw that we're dealing with. Go ahead.
Correct. So the applicant is Kevin Walsh from Precision Building Design. The owner is Desert Lagoons Limited, and they are proposing a 47-unit townhome development with 14 basement suites at 9110 and 9120 Main Street. We've just come out of the public hearing for said development proposal, and the options before council are as follows. Option 1, that council gives third reading to both OCP Amendment Bylaw number 1230.21 and Zoning Amendment number 1085.108. Option number 2, council defers third reading to the amending bylaws until a later date. Option 3, council requests further revisions to the amending bylaws before proceeding further. Or option 4, that the bylaws be abandoned. And council, just to inform you, staff, after hearing the comments of the public hearing, is still ready to recommend option number 1, that council grants third reading to both the OCP amendment and the zoning amendment bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, council, what is your pleasure on this? Councillor Harvey.
After hearing comments, I have to agree with Ms. Slater that relying on a previous traffic study in view of changing base assumptions and important assumptions is moot, and we ought to request another one before going to third reading.
Okay. So, are you making a motion that we get further revisions before?
No, number 2.
Number 2. Sorry, I just put my glasses on. Defers third reading until a later date with the proviso that we have a traffic study done?
Correct.
Is that correct? Is there anybody who would like to second that motion? I will, to bring it up. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that? Is there anyone? Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just a question about clarity. I think I heard both versions. Was there a traffic study done, or was there not one done? I heard that there was not one done.
For this proposal, Councillor Rhodes?
No, for the previous
There
one.
was a traffic study done for the previous proposal, and in conversation with the Ministry of Transportation, they did not feel that the number of persons at our 47-unit townhome would even warrant their requirement for a traffic study. The referral to the Ministry of Transportation does not require any traffic study, and usually the traffic study requirement comes directly from the Ministry of Transportation.
Okay.
Can I ask, I was not on council when the last study was done. I think it was about 10 years ago. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, Ms. McKay, but it seems to me that there were 3 10-story or buildings that were proposed for that lot, or maybe one was an 8. I would assume there would have been a much higher density of people living there. I know there were businesses on the ground floor, but my assumption was that several floors above would be residents.
Sure, so I can just speak a little bit, if you like, to the differences. So one of the key differences between the previous proposal and the one here is not just the density. Let's talk about the roads. The previous proposal, it was a public road, meaning that the public would have access from the highway in the previous proposal through this development of significant size through Vedette Drive. So not just be a strata development accessing through Vedette Drive. It would, in fact, be a public through road from the highway through Vedette Drive. The previous proposal had 4 phases. The first was a combined medical commercial building of 5 stories. The second one was a residential development of 8 stories. The third was a residential development of 6 stories. The fourth building was a residential development of 10 stories. The total number of residential units exceeded 200 in addition to the commercial units, and that is why the Ministry of Transportation required that they prepare a traffic analysis, and that is why Ministry of Transportation did not request a traffic analysis be done as part of this development proposal.
Thank you very much. And as I recall, that particular proposal there was some talk back and forth, but it was in fact agreed to, was it not? The proposal went.
The Ministry of Transportation, as I noted earlier, is required to sign off after third reading and prior to fourth reading of an amending bylaw. They did sign off on the amending bylaw, but no actual access permit was ever granted.
Okay, thank you.
Just for clarification as well, was that a right-in, right-out?
It was a right-in, right-out with what they call a pork chop in the middle to prevent any other type of access.
Okay, so this changes because there is one way in, and then it's circular, and there is an access to the highway only as needed by emergency vehicles.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you again, Member Kordoff. So I think out of due respect, I'm going to speak against the motion that's in front of us right now, and my logic behind doing that is a traffic study would probably bring the same result in the knowledge that we know already, that there will not and probably will never be access off of the highway onto that property. I don't know what we can do as a municipality to force that. We've had many, many dealings with the Ministry of Transport in the past and have been subject to, and this is not a criticism, but subject to steadfastness that it's almost impossible to get past. The internal traffic issue that we have with that property is Valiant Lane and the impact on Vedette. And I view those as being internal municipal issues that we need to deal with, and they are serious, and we need to come up with a plan that works for everybody. I freely admit I don't know what that plan is at this point, but there has to be some way of mitigating and make that better than some of the fears that we have with the traffic increase in that area. However, I don't think the traffic study is a serious enough thing to hold up our progress with this right now. The third reading, and so that everybody understands, the process can be stopped at any point. Mm-hmm. You know, the third reading only allows us to move forward with this while we deal with some of the impacts to the residents in the community that's around there. And so that's kind of my logic to speaking against it. I don't see the value of a traffic study because I think we know that we have impact and we need solutions and resolutions at this point. So.
Good. Thank you. Is there any? Councillor Bennett.
I'll speak against the motion as well. I think that we went to the developer. These are the rules we put in for the town, and if we needed a traffic study at the time when he applied, I think we should have had that in there at the time. And if that's not a requirement, I feel kind of bad going back to him and saying, okay, we're going to hold this up, now you got to come back. It's just like throwing another rule back at him. It doesn't seem like a fair thing to do.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Could you read it, please, Mrs. Hilson?
That council defers giving third reading to a further date until a traffic study has been provided.
Thank you very much. So it's been moved and seconded. I will ask all in favor of that motion. Against? Thank you. That's defeated. Is there anyone who would like to make another motion? Thank you.
So I propose a motion based on the staff recommended, and that's option 1, and the wording that's included in the report.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So we need one for the official community plan and then one for the zoning bylaw. So would you like to make one for the official
Yeah,
community
I'll go
plan
with the
first?
1230.21.
Thank you. And Councillor King has seconded that. Is there anyone who would like to speak to that? Okay, I'm going to ask for the vote. All in favor? Against? Thank you. That's passed. And is there someone who would like to make a motion concerning the zoning amendment bylaw?
I'll make that motion.
Councillor
Zoning
King?
Amendment bylaw 1085.108.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes is seconding that. Any comments on this? I will ask for a vote. All in favor? Against? Thank you. So that was passed. So thank you, and I will need a motion to close the meeting. Thank you. Councillor Bennett, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you very much, everyone.